6:48 right now, time for the morning rush. The trial of two men accused of killing an 11-year-old boy outside of the Isotopes Park is set to continue this morning. Yesterday in court, prosecutors brought a homicide detective to the stand who attributed the tips from Crime Stoppers that led their investigation into Nathan Garley, Jose Romero, and Daniel Gomez. Romero and Garley face a long list of charges, including first-degree murder.
A Farmington couple is waking up behind bars after police say they locked their child in a chicken coop for months. Yesterday, 36-year-old Patricia Madrid and 59-year-old Jamie Jackson were arrested and charged with 14 felony counts of child abuse. And Jackson are being held at the San Juan County Jail.
Well, the city of Las Vegas remains under a mandatory water boil advisory as repairs to the city's water system continue. According to a news release, 4 separate water leaks were located, repaired, or isolated in the city yesterday. The city says the water distribution will resume this morning at 8 at the Abe Montoya Recreation Center. Ryan.
Barely cold air out east, relatively chilly out west. Here's a live look at Angel Fire with them pink hues along the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, looking at Wheeler Peak 19 in Angel Fire. It's colder to your east, record cold air for some, and we're going to be eventually warming up ahead.
An Albuquerque City Councilor is putting pressure on the New Mexico Law Enforcement Certification Board to give an update on its investigation into APD Chief Harold Medina. Last August, City Councilor Luis Sanchez filed a complaint calling for an investigation into potential misconduct by Medina. That complaint came after the chief drove through a red light last February, crashing into a Ford Mustang, injuring the driver.
As New Mexico's legislative session continues, some lawmakers recently fell victim to some of the crimes that they are now working to fight. During the 2025 legislative session, Senator Larry Scott became a victim of a car break-in. Meanwhile, Senator George Munoz from Gallup told News 13 thieves stole from his car that was outside of his temporary Santa Fe home. Ryan.
It's a cold start out there, so if you're dropping off his kid to school, almost all areas of New Mexico below freezing, including Albuquerque. Now, by the afternoon, we'll be warming up in the 50s in Albuquerque. Some areas out east still below freezing this afternoon, but will gradually warm up ahead.
Well, the University of New Mexico is now sharing the results of a study that they say found no correlation between sanctuary cities and high crime rates. The study from UNM political science professor Lauren Collingwood defines a sanctuary city as a city that in some way limits cooperation with ICE. Now, Collingwood compared the cities with and without sanctuary status and found no statistically significant difference in the crime rates.
A bill that would allow state agencies to install wireless towers on their properties is moving forward in the Roundhouse. The state's broadband office says Senate Bill 164 would ensure cellular access in state parks, historic state landmarks, and rural communities near state properties. Yesterday, the proposal passed the Senate Tax, Business, and Transportation Committee. Ryan.
Now taking a look at traffic, no major accidents nor slowdowns to be reported. And taking a look right now at the Big I, we do notice the increase in traffic flow, but still no major slowdowns and no accidents to be reported. We'll have more updates later today.
It's once in a lifetime if we're lucky to find someone who perfectly fills a space or maybe a hole in our heart. Kevin Nguyen and Monica Resch cemented their love last week in a heart-shaped hole that's been slowly sinking into New Orleans Facility Street for more than a decade. 130 guests came together for their somewhat groundbreaking wedding ceremony.
And now it's time for the 5 facts.
At number 5, the city of Albuquerque is giving us a look at what's in store for the 100th anniversary of Route 66. Fighting crime, cleaning up problem hotels, and removing trash are some of what Mayor Keller says are his priorities ahead of the 2026 celebration for the famous highway. Now, in anticipation of the anniversary, Visit Albuquerque has now launched its Route 66 website, which includes resources for residents and tourists.
And number 4, the city of Las Vegas remains under a mandatory water boil advisory as repairs to the city's water system continue. According to a news release, 4 separate water leaks were located, repaired, or isolated in the city yesterday. The city says water distribution will resume this morning at 8 at the Abe Montoya Recreation Center. Officials say they hope to get their water filtration system repaired within the next few days.
And number 3, frigid cold air, dangerously low wind chills, feeling in the teens below zero, occasionally in Tucumcari and Clayton, feeling a little bit colder there in Albuquerque. Record cold in Clayton, Roswell, just a couple of those areas to name a couple of those areas. And we'll be warming up eventually ahead with mostly dry weather.
And number 2, the trial for the 2 men accused of killing an 11-year-old outside of Isotopes Park is set to continue. In September 2023, Maria Villegas was leaving the game with her son Froilan, her other son and niece, when their truck was shot up. Yesterday in court, prosecutors brought a homicide detective to the stand who attributed tips from Crime Stoppers, leading the investigation to Nathan Garley, Jose Romero, and Daniel Gomez.
And at number one this morning, an Albuquerque City Councilor is putting pressure on New Mexico Law Enforcement Certification Board to give an update on its investigation into APD Chief Harold Medina. Last August, City Councilor Luis Sanchez filed a complaint with the board, calling for an investigation into potential misconduct by Medina. That complaint came after the chief drove through a red light at Central and Alvarado last February, crashing into a Ford Mustang and injuring the driver. Medina says gunfire caused him to speed through that intersection, and the State Department of Justice chose not to bring any criminal charges against him. However, APD's Internal Affairs Board found that the chief did violate the department policy by failing to operate the vehicle safely and failing to turn on his body cam.